Hi, this is Alexcursus, a show that once again we are looking at some pre-built Gundam figurine. This time it is another Zaku 2 from PLEX, a sort of subsidiary of Bandai that is responsible at handling more traditional old school kind of toys, as we will see later when we take a closer look. But yeah, it's basically their brand for more traditional toys that, may not get the whole corporate push treatment, but may still find the marketplace for from both, consumer as well as pretty much retailers. Like they want that kind of product, but you know those are not necessarily agreeing with the numbers from the Bring Boy, so they kind of all converge them into the Plex banner. But Plex is one of many of such subsidiaries. um, I don't know if the channel can reach a point where we discuss different Bandai subsidiaries and what exactly are they doing compared to each other, how unique they are. But yeah, a better equivalent description would be Plex is one of the smaller studios inside Bandai Namco. Just, this studio is making toys instead of video games. I'll be rating these kits with Saga, style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style, this is a chunky boy. To be honest, I ordered it without really looking at its size. Um, kind of surprised by the package when it arrives. Sure, it would be too large for my mainly 1 to 144 collection, but it will work as my occasional Gunpla battle type of photo shoots, or as it is, just a toy, or maybe when I get to my 1 to 100 collections, this guy would be useful. So that's that. Size comparison, this is the Robo Tamashi Zaku 2. It's close to 1 to 144. So yeah, this guy's about 1 to 100. Pretty much like the Togis, so they would make a good pair. The color, the sculpt, everything is pretty much sticking to the Okawara line art. Of course, after being influenced by other Gundam toys and Gunpla, the ratio changed up a little bit, but I think it's fine. Like I said, Plex mainly make traditional toys, so this Sun Warrior Zaku looks like it would be as if it was made in 1979 or 1980s. It's just perfect. I didn't penalize this guy because, it's a pre-built product. Getting a closer look, you can see the part separation isn't the greatest, and there is some flashing on the side. I didn't clean it up because I want to present this as is. For a toy by itself, I think that is fine. We will get a bit of flashing here and there, and it's not, irreparable. Just slightly worse build quality. The arms looks fine from the front, but on the side you will see the assembly gap. Pretty clear as well. And yeah, here is our pinned joint. Again, very traditional. The right arm got the benefit of the shield to cover up most of the mold lines. But if you turn the arm, there they are again. torso looks pretty good. We will see why this is very soon, but yeah, the assembly gap between the chests are covered mostly by the transmission tubes. So that's that. The legs, again, very old school, split down in the middle of assembly. Interestingly, the foot does not suffer the same fate. Looks like it is some modern parts and color separation. Completely flat foot. Again, not unusual for a traditional toy, but for something made today, it kinda, missing the mark, missing the heart rather. At the back, we will talk about this later. Backpack, yeah, pretty good sculpt and part separation wise. Here's also where the battery is housed. Pretty well packed together and left very little gap. That's cool. Your weapon hanger at the back skirts, and then the back of the legs, more flashing, more crush pins, but what should be here is here. I can't tell if they want to keep the straight down part separation as a aesthetic. Like I said, PLEX is mostly producing very traditional toys. I do wonder if they do this to keep the flair. If they do, then they are very successful with it. Otherwise, yeah, this is worse than some very old HG or non-graded Zaku models. Certainly not as bad as the Mecha collection. Certainly better than pre-HG era, but nothing to praise too much about. Like, don't worry, this thing will get more love in other categories. So for style, let's just give it a B. Like, it really, really captures the Zaku's old TV or movie look, or how it was drawn on the older artwork. Like, it is great on that department, but at the same time, there are lots of just not caring in part separation and scopes, like the bottom of the feet. So it should get knocked down a peg. And I'm preemptively giving it a lower score in style because we will get to some, I suspect, high score later. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of articulation, but also how useful those articulations are. For the Zang Warrior Zaku, head is just a swivel. It's not a ball joint, it can't look up. Again, I'm not sure if PLEX do this intentionally, but they also have some other concerns, as we'll see later. But at least for just action, this is not a good start. The next not so hot category is the torso. There's no ab, no waist, and the skirts are completely static. Very much like the revival Bass Mecha Gundam. The leg can barely lift, but it is, I suspect, on a ball joint. Looks like a ball joint to me, or a double axle that works like a ball joint. And I have to say, pretty surprised the pulse transmission cables are in this HG-like multi-slot style. Not the most detailed way to do it, but it is definitely a good balance between durability, playability, action, and aesthetics. Sadly, the knee doesn't go very far, again, probably due to the best mecha-like aesthetics. The feet, I would say it close up rather well in different positions, but whatever this joint, ball joint, or just loose cover is, there isn't a lot. But, having the skirt that's so restrictive, it doesn't really matter. The arms, the left shoulder pad is stuck, one piece with the shoulder pad itself. Um, and the arms is not on a ball joint but a double swivel. Um, it does help with stability and a bit of durability. We still got bicep swivel though, that's cool. And then the elbow, about 70 degrees. Again, probably something to do with the aesthetics, but yeah, probably going overboard with that. But this ball joint is quite stiff, so it's more like a side swivel with a bit of play. The shield, let's see if I will break the shield joint. It looks like it is a pig, but then it is so solidly placed, I don't think it is supposed to turn. Maybe it would, but yeah, it's basically freeze on this one. So no movement for the shield, nothing for the backpack, doesn't even open up to show the thrusters. So yeah, action wise, I would say better than the joints suggest, but not actually that great. Yeah, can't really even stand if I don't have a good stand for it. So I guess this is a C for action. Again, this is supposed to be a toy, more action figure thing, and not having a lot of articulation would really hurt its scores. It is better than what a C sounds like, especially compared to Torgi's, but it is definitely bad. Just not bad enough that I think it is failing what they are trying to achieve here. Again, PLEX is making, replicas of vintage toys, or, just doing vintage toys with new technologies, but not all of it. So I appreciate the attempt to preserve the flavor, but yeah, let's make action a C here. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick is usually the optional weapons on board weapons and other functionality of the mobile suits. We have talked about the shoulder armors and the shield. We have talked about the backpack, and there's a optional hand, a more hammer grip hand for the right hand, for you to hold the hit hawk. Although it's not like you can't hold a hit hawk with the gun holding hand. Just more handshake grip. Like if anything, this is more of an upgrade for Zaku here, because you got more play with it. So yeah, hit hawk holds it well, and with the trigger hand you got more play with it. Not too bad, and it still have the skirt pick that you can store the hit hawk, so that's nice. But we don't get the storage type of hit hawk in the set, nor does this hit hawk have a removable blade, so it lives here like this. Although a lot of Zaku Gunpla does this, so not really a big hurt. Um, I ordered this through Bandai Premium. Not really because I want these crackers, just happens to be on Bandai Premium that I don't have to look for it. So, anyways, there's no real way to hold these crackers. Um, you can sort of have things sit on top of Zaku's hand, and you don't exactly have the cracker grenade carrying mechanism. So that's that. Last and probably the main feature is the Zaku machine gun. Pretty well sculpted. I think Bandai is just super good with it these days. I don't think they have a bad Zaku machine gun for quite a while. It is a bit challenging to put this on because the grip doesn't comes off, and the fingers on this hand is, basically solid. So we are just relying on the PVC's flexibility for this to, yeah, let's take the head off. That would make life easier. So we are just using the natural flexibility of the PVC to finagle it into the gun. Not a pretty way to do it, but it's done. And okay, a bit of, oh no, yeah, once you got the angle, you can go hip fire, you can go shoulder. The front grip is movable, although it would be a bit challenging to move it to the left hand, but it's doable. Yeah, doing this awkward butt plates off the side thing that you sometimes have to do with Zaku, but it's done. So yeah, Zaku shooting Zaku machine gun. And you'll be asking, you said Sang Warrior quite a few times. What makes this a Sang Warrior, and what makes this special? Let's see. So yeah, I think this witness hole at the back is just for you, or for it, to check its brightness. And yeah, this weapon hanger is actually a button for the LED's activation and sound. The backing card is also kind of nice with this earth kind of naked way, and then that could be a battleship or that could be Shah, and then space. So a pretty good backing card. A good sign for an action figure, actually. And so you would be asking, is that one gimmick really worth all the concessions that have to make about this toy? Maybe yes, maybe no. The mono eye activation sound is not quite the no humming that you hear about, but it also kind of works as the walking sound of a Zaku, and the weapons mostly works. The extra right hand is always welcome, even though it's kind of pointless. So yeah, I would give it an A for Gimmick, for how well the mono eye mechanism works, for how well the weapon works. It is kind of sad that we got no thrusters, but you know, it is selling what is selling to you. So A for Gimmick. So last but not least for the Zaku Zang Warrior is absence. Like I have mentioned, for a Zaku 2, it is missing quite a bit of action in the torso. It is missing quite a lot of action as a toy, but for the gimmick, it works. The LED is pretty bright, and it is not. It is really a mono eye. It is not. I go like we are filming it to the side. It is sort of do this funny diffusion, but it is also kind of natural. So, and to be honest, I think the biggest gimmick isn't the activation of the mono eye, but have the mono eye off as the dark mode. This is something that you rarely see in Robotamashi or Gunpla models because most of the time Zaku is fighting with the mono eye shining in their combat mode. But in the co-opening of Mobile Suit Gundam, Zaku definitely, being sorted out, scrambled out with their optics, in this off stealth mode. And this is really included as a gimmick. I mean, you can build your Gunpla, your Zaku Gunpla, Zakupla without the mono eye, but there's no mechanism to put it back on later, or take out the mono eye or whatever. This is something unique. Price point for this thing kinda nasty. It is close to the MG side, but then it got electronics. It's pre-built. If I haven't talked about it, it is definitely the old school sort of thick plastic build with thick, like I don't know if you can see, sort of have this. It's not exactly ratchet, but definitely have some tensioning in it. And if I'm not doing anything funny, I just let it stand. It stands. So a bit on the expensive side, but not on the unreasonable side. It is not really missing what it is trying to sell you. And I'm glad they don't just stop with Zaku, but also give you the regular mass production Zaku. So A for absence. To recap, the Zang Warrior Zaku have a really old school Bass Mecha collection-esque aesthetics. It's not a bad aesthetics, but like the Bass Mecha revival, I think they are doing it to a fault. That's why I'm going to downgrade the style to B. For action, again, I'm not sure if it is trying to commit to the style. Despite quite a few articulation points, you just have no torso articulation at all. I'm sure a lighting up electronic does not need to take all the place in the torso and the waist. It is just running on some LR44 batteries, so I'm going to give it a C. Not great action, but there is action. For Gimmick, we just show one. It is the mono eye activation with sound and light, and then you can turn it off as well for stealth mode or dark mode. The Zaku machine gun, I think Bandai have mastered it at this point. It is well sculpted, pretty solid, size is okay. You can have it in a realistic pose. The optic is actually close enough that you can put Zaku's eye behind it. Great on that part. Hithawk only have the deploy mode but still have to pick for storage, and the left hand is in a hammer grip so we can hold the Hithawk as well. Let's just do that for the point, which is something that got, forgotten in some Zaku action figures, which is really weird, but yeah, definitely, good sentiment here. And because I ordered this through Premium Bandai, I got the crackers. They're more like flavor extra thrown in, not really being held or stored properly, but I appreciate the existence. So yeah, for Gimmick, it's definitely delivers. So A for Gimmick. And finally, for Absence, it's called Sang Warrior. It only got one Sang, but it is a good Sang. You can pretty much use it for any action that Zaku is going to take part in. So I think they really delivers. Sort of standard Zaku gear as well, machine gun and Hithawk. Missing on the bazooka, but again, even Gunpla sometimes does not provide you with a bazooka anyways. So I would say you can have a bit more here. I would say the price may be a bit on the high side, but it's definitely not missing anything greatly. So I would say A for Absence. So the final verdict for the Sang Warrior MS-06 Zaku is... The verdict for the Sang Warrior MS-06 Zaku is B for style, C for action, A for gimmick, and A for absence. I don't think it is something that I recommend for everyone, but if you want a old school sturdy toy with lights and sound, then yeah, it's a pretty good piece, especially for displays and everything else. You might have to work on it because it is being built in a quite old school way. You can see the super shiny shield surface. They definitely was going ham on the mold remover. I think Zaku fans and old school toy fans would appreciate it. God, I need to change my grip on this guy. And it is fun. Thanks for watching. See you next time.